Make.com agents are finally live, and I built one in just 36 minutes. Now, in my opinion, this is the biggest thing Make has ever released, because these AI agents, they can talk to users, remember contacts, make decisions, and actually take real-world actions, all without a single line of code. This is about the fastest way to build real-world AI apps that actually think and act across any industry. And the best thing is, if you understand this now, you will be miles ahead of those who are just stuck with linear integrations. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how these AI agents work in Make, what they unlock, and how you can build your own before this wave explodes. If you don't know me, my name is Liam. I help businesses all over the world to integrate advanced AI agents and AI agent infrastructures into their business. If you'd like to explore how we can use something like this, what I'm about to show in this video, into your business, regardless of industry, feel free to just use the first link in the description. You can book a free AI strategy session with me, and we'll plan out the entire AI blueprint for your business and how you can use it to most effectively increase your productivity, save money, and also time. I look forward to hearing from you, and now let's get into the video. Alright, so the agent I will be showing you is just an example, in this case an AI concierge for a hotel. Guests can scan this QR code and then they're greeted, for example, inside a Slack channel or on WhatsApp. And as you can see, it instantly knows my name. I'll show you how to set this up in just a second. Now, because in this channel we do focus on voice AI, I at least wanted to include the voice message feature. Now, let's, for example, ask it, hey, I just arrived and I want to turn on the AC. I can't figure out how to do it. And then you'll see here, it first of all transcribes it, then it sends it to the agent, which is using tools to complete the request. And then it tells me in my business suite, you can control it with the remote located on the desk. So here what it did, it first of all had to look through the CRM, in this case just a Google Sheet. And it had to identify, this is Liam Titchens, he's in the business suite, because there's 3 different room types. Then it had to look through the knowledge base to find, okay, business suite, the remote is on the desk, right? So let me show you another example. Let's go in here and say, what type of massages and spa treatments do you offer? And now once again, this will transcribe the message. It'll look through the knowledge base and tell me that it's like facials and body treatments and whatever else we had in there. There we go. Could you schedule a body treatment for me tomorrow at like 8 a.m.? And now it'll go through here. And then in here, you can see that it first of all checks the calendar, and then it books the calendar through this workflow. I wasn't fast enough to show you, unfortunately, live, but in here you will see now that this appointment has been booked. And then it confirms that it has been booked tomorrow at 8 a.m. And conveniently, it's also got my name and the type of treatment I want right in your spa's calendar. Okay, I think you get the idea. Let me show you how to build one of these from scratch. So, how do AI agents work in Make? When you are in here, just as a heads up, this is in beta, so not everyone will have access just yet. But for those lucky ones who do, you'd click here on the side to AI agents, click Create New Agent. Here you have to add an LLM connection, so DeepSeek or OpenAI. You have to connect that up. I won't show you how to do this. It's fairly straightforward. Just log in with your details and possibly add the API key. Then you give this a name, test name, and then you select the model, for example, GPT-4o. And then here you add a system prompt. I'll just do this really briefly to show you how you'd set one up, and then I'll show you exactly how mine works. And then in here, you can add system tools, and each system tool is a workflow. So for example, you could add the CRM. And to add the check CRM, we'd have to add a description, and we tell it use this to identify the user's name, room type, and room number. And then we'd save it. And now this agent knows when to use this tool. And we can do this for as many workflows as you want, because each tool is a workflow that you've set up in Make. Now let's quickly go back to the example that I'd made, this hotel room service agent. So in my prompt, this is once again a fairly straightforward prompt. Given it the role, his name is Anthony, he's in a hotel, he's supposed to help guests, and he can use these tools. Now, this is not a very complicated prompt at all. You can keep it fairly simple. And in my tools, I've given it the CRM tool, the appointment check, appointment book, and the room info tool. And you can add as many as you like. Now, how do you actually configure these tools? If you go into scenarios and you create on new scenario, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, say this is something that looks through my Google Sheets. Search rows. It's going to save this. Then there's two things that you have to keep in mind. If you go down here onto scenario inputs and outputs, you have to really make sure that you've got an input and an output defined. And this is basically for the agent to know, okay, when I want to use this workflow, I first of all have to make sure that I know the guest name, for example. And then, for example, this is the name of the guest, right? And then you can click on required, for example, if it's required, and then click on save. And this makes sure that when the agent wants to use this, it always has to somehow already know the name of the caller, for example, and it'll ask again, right? If it doesn't know this yet, it'll say, "Can you please give me your name?" So it knows that before I can use this tool, you have to get information on this, which is great. And on outputs, you can then, for example, say something like room number or room type in our case. This is the room type of the user. Nice. Now it knows this is the output of the scenario. Now the cool thing is here now you can actually use these inputs and outputs as variables. So for example, if I go here and I go guest name, I can now use that as a variable in here now as well, which is nice. So let's keep going. The other thing that you have to keep in mind is this has to be set to run on demand. Otherwise, it won't be able to trigger. And then you also have to click on, you have to add return and output, because otherwise the agent won't get anything back. And then here you will see the scenario outputs that you've configured, and you can map this to whatever you got back from this, for example. So that's the basic things that you need to keep in mind, right? So make sure that you've got your inputs and outputs configured, make sure that this is set to run once, and third, make sure that you have actually this module that returns something to the agent. Now, let's just go through the scenarios that I have set up so you understand how I did this. Let's start with this one. So you have to have something that actually triggers the agent first of all. How does information go to the agent? This is what I've got set up. You've got a Telegram trigger which watches for updates on this specific Telegram bot. And then we have a router. And this router basically filters, did the user send a text or a voice message? If he sent a text, it goes through here and basically sets the variable response to text. If he sends a voice message, if the voice message exists, it first of all downloads the file, transcribes it with something like OpenAI Whisper, and then sets the transcription as the response text. And when we run this, you'll see that once one of these variables is set, it gets sent down here into the agent, which can then use all the tools. So I'll show you how this looks, for example. Hello, how are you doing? And then you see it'll, well, I think I was too fast. Hold on. Hey, how's it going? There you go. It goes up here and then goes down there. And now let's actually, in the AI agent, when you want to configure this, there's a couple things that I set up for my use case. So for example, we have agent level tools, which are the ones that we configured before, but you can also add additional tools if you want to. Because say, for example, you've got a Telegram bot that should also have access to the change reservation one, for example. But you could have the same AI agent integrated into a different room type, which triggered through WhatsApp, for example, and the WhatsApp one shouldn't have access to that tool. So basically, you can have tools that are always accessible for the agent and tools that are only accessible within this scenario, which is very interesting. The thread ID is important so that the agent remembers the conversation. And in this case, I just used the chat ID from Telegram. One thing I also added is the current time is now. This is really important because otherwise, if I say something like book a spa treatment for tomorrow, it'll still think it's 2023, for example. And in the message, you can add the message that we got through the voice message or the text. And then I also added this. The guest ID is message from ID. So in this case, I just used the ID of your Telegram to figure out the guest's name. So what happens is when somebody texts, it automatically knows, okay, this is their ID. I should probably look through the CRM. And here I've hooked it up so that the guest ID is the same as their Telegram ID. So it recognizes this, it pulls out, okay, this is Liam, and now it knows in which room I am. All right, let's keep going with the scenarios. So that's basically the one that I just explained, right? The CRM. The CRM looks through the Google Sheet and then returns the output. Then what I've also got set up is the room info. Room info is nothing else than looking through a knowledge base, basically. And here as the scenario input, I just had question and then room type. So this is cool because it knows, okay, before I can use this scenario, I have to figure out the room type. And to figure out the room type, I need to use the CRM tool. It can think and choose itself. And once it knows the question and the room type, it can extract info from this Google document, run it through OpenAI to summarize it based on the question that was asked, and then return the answer to the question. Now, the next two are SPA appointment check and SPA appointment book. You have to have two of those because if you just had a book, it can't check for availability first, right? It's just like a human would do it. If somebody asked you to make an appointment, you'd have to open the calendar. If somebody said 8 a.m. on the 17th, you'd first of all have to check, is it available? And only after you've confirmed that it's either available or not available, you're allowed to book it. So it's two separate scenarios. This is actually a lot more complex than it needs to be. I've just realized I've accidentally duplicated these. But basically what happens is in here, you have the requested time, which is the scenario input. Then I've added these variables, which are the SPA is basically only open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then you have to add the calendar ID. If you're using Google Calendar, you can of course use something else too. Now, next, it formats the start time and the end time. And one thing that's actually quite important here to note is that the requested time has to be in this format, because otherwise you can't use it in Google Calendar in a moment. And yeah, this is something you can define in the scenario inputs, right? This is basically like a mini prompt, which is sent to the AI telling it, look, when you retrieve the time, just pop it into this format, please. Cool, so this is basically just a double up. It's the exact same thing. And then in Google Calendar, you have the minimum time and the end time, which is from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then the calendar ID so that you can access the calendar. The problem with Google Calendar is it only returns the busy slots. And you don't just want to tell your guest, oh, we're busy now and now. You'd rather tell them when you're free. And what I've done here is I've routed it through OpenAI to basically inverse this, to tell it, please look at what's busy, and then instead of saying this is busy, just tell me 3 slots that are available. And here I have 2 different routes, because it could be that the whole day is free, and then it just routes down here. But if there are some busy slots, then we use OpenAI chat completion to transform this into something a little more user-friendly. This is the prompt in case you want to copy it. Cool, and then when we go into SPA appointment book, I don't know why I did this, but you can basically delete these. You really don't need them. And it's the same thing, basically, just that here I have as input variables the requested time in this format once again. Then we've got the guest name and the SPA type. So that then when you go through here, this is once again the exact same as it was before. Don't need this either. Then when it books the event, you can give it the event name, guest name for a massage, right? So Liam Titchens for a body treatment. And this is fantastic, right? Because, by the way, you can also set the duration down here if you want to. And this is great because this little agent now is able to pick and choose all the tools that it wants to complete any request the guest has. And you can add as many scenarios as you want. You can make them workflow specific. And yeah, it can just basically pick and choose what's best suited to help the customer. I hope you were able to learn something during this video. As I said, this is only a beta release, so I hope by the time you watch this, you actually have access and can try this for yourself. Is this as good as something like an N8N agent? No. Right? N8N is months ahead of Make when it comes to agents, and they still have a bit of catching up to do. But the first impression, honestly, is really solid, especially because they're so easy to set up, and anyone can do this. And instead of just doing, linear workflows, I'd encourage you to definitely give this a go, because agents, I mean, just look on my channel, right? This is all we do, and yeah, you can make a lot of money from it. I've actually got a cool video coming up in the next few weeks, showing you exactly how I closed a $6,000 deal on an AI agent. So stay tuned for that, and definitely get into this stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy to see what this stuff can do. And once again, if you would like to find out how you can use AI agents in your business, you can use the first link in the description to book a free AI discovery call with me, and we'll go from there. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you in the next one.